world literally ending outside of our doors, this last year has seemed like a doomsday all on its own. There have been countless stories detailing the demise of humanity throughout all forms of media, including books, comics, films, and video games. That got us thinking of the various types of world-ending scenarios. We here at Fat Ninja dove deep into our treasured civilization-decimating entertainment media to bring you a list featuring 12 unique apocalypse scenarios. I'm your host, Jackie K, and let's get to the annihilation. Number 1. Giant bugs. With the chittering of mandibles and the thundering quakes of thousands of legs, a most terrifying visage approaches. Imagine yourself cornered with only a flare in hand for defense, and just then, you see it. A 50-foot centipede. The idea behind supersized insects stems back from fantasy literature, often represented through parties battling mystical spiders and capturing brilliantly colored magical butterflies. But the legends grew more prevalent during the nuclear scare of 1950s America, with stories about giant mutated ants enslaving entire human towns to forgotten continents filled with prehistoric creatures. We have always been terrified to be devoured by these nightmares. A particularly terrifying fate from Stephen King's The Mist depicts a man whose body has been infested by millions of spider eggs, which then proceed to burst out of him and engorge themselves on his flesh, while he's still breathing. The world is already overrun by gazillions of insects as it stands. If they ever cosmically or evolutionarily grew to titanic proportions, the human race would surely become extinct. Number 2. Alien invasion. What's that? In the sky. Those strange lights. Invaders from outer space. One of the longest standing questions in human philosophy has been, are we alone in the universe? There's been a plethora of tales detailing what first contact with an alien species would be like, most of which end in some galactic war. Even Star Trek has seen its fair share of civilizations being neutralized by invading alien empires. This has even bled into mainstream conspiracies of abductions and crashed alien ships being hidden by our government. The scientific world has dedicated many resources to studying far-off, distant worlds, and as of yet, there hasn't been any definitive proof that life does exist beyond our solar system. But if it did, do you think that they would have hostile or friendly intentions? Number 3. Zombies.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
There are many legends and interpretations of zombie mythology throughout history. Historically, one of the earliest mentions of the word zombie has come from voodooism, which depicts a ritual that enslaves the soul and creates an obedient, husk-like servant. Then, in the early 60s, George A. Romero redefined what is currently the commonly known zombie depiction in pop culture with his film Night of the Living Dead. Today, we have a buffet of options when it comes to zombie types, ranging from fast infected, cosmically resurrected, necromancy, supernatural, and even rare fungal mutations. Zombie media in video games has been particularly popular, staging players against hordes of cannibalistic humanoids. The curiosity surrounding zombies has even prompted FEMA to devise an action plan if the undead were ever to plague the Earth. What would you do if suddenly the world were overrun? Number 4. Nuclear. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. The famous Hindu scripture uttered by Julius Robert Oppenheimer after creating the first atomic bomb which forever changed the face of war. nuclear threat still prevails even now in 2021, as the Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative, otherwise known as the NPDI, has yet to disarm most of the world's superpowers of their nuclear arsenals. All it would take is an act of aggression by an extremist to enter the world into a nuclear holocaust, which is possibly one of the most real and terrifying scenarios known to humankind. However, in popular media, most of life goes on in a mutated wasteland with strange creatures and devastated cities as wanderers adventure and scrap to meek out an existence over the rubble of the past. Games like the Fallout series depict a world filled with colorful characters and remnants of an era bygone, struggling to rebuild new societies. One of my favorite post-apocalyptic books is The Road, written by Cormac McCarthy, which follows a father and his son as they struggle to find a place to call home in a treacherous world, filled with gangs of cannibals, no medicine, and bare, if any, resources. The question to you, dear viewer, what is more likely? Life going on, or all life ceasing to exist, the earth quiet once more? Number 5. Rapture. Stemming from various religious sources, the Rapture is most commonly an event where all the souls are recalled to their respective gods as the battle for free will engages between heaven and hell. Some excellent portrayals have been presented through the series The Leftovers, as well as Stephen King's The Stand, which tell of the moral struggle of those left behind and the eternal battle between good and evil. While The Stand is a more direct approach, The Leftovers doesn't specifically state that the Rapture occurred, although throughout the series, many theories are proclaimed but never 100% confirmed. There have also been comedies such as the Anna Kendrick starring film Rapturepalooza. However, the norm is usually found in the horror genre in films such as Legion, starring Paul Bettany. Even though this scenario is not supported by any scientific facts, it's still an interesting premise that has captivated many an audience. Number 6. Genetic mutation. Evil scientists running amok, experimenting on the local populace and creating monsters and unleashing them. One of the most famous iterations is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, even though Dr. Frankenstein is the true monster and not the thing he creates. Often scientists in these media forms are trying to force evolution, or better humanity in some abstract way that turns on them in an oft-restated theme. There are things that man was not meant to meddle with by playing God. Jurassic Park is another such example, a man fascinated by the prehistoric past and only wishing to share his passion with the world. That inevitably results in chaos, which will play out in its newest installment, Jurassic World Dominion. It's not always monsters in the typical fashion, sometimes it's genetic modifications that target specific genomes to commit genocide, such as the Nazi virus in Fringe. Mad scientists are a main staple in many science fiction plots, but none are as feared as those able to break the barriers of genetic science. Who is your favorite mad scientist? Number 7. Environmental. Damage? Total, sir. It's what we call a global killer, the end of mankind. Doesn't matter where it hits, nothing would survive, not even bacteria. The foreboding warning uttered by Billy Bob Thornton to the president during the events of Armageddon. World-ending natural disasters are a very real prospect, not just fantastical superstorms that we see in sci-fi movies, but very real events like the tsunamis that wiped out parts of Southeastern Asia. Turbulent weather can strike anywhere given the right conditions, and that even includes celestial bodies careening into our planet. While technology has advanced sufficiently to help us detect early signs of cataclysmic events, we still haven't devised methods to prevent them. Mostly represented in popcorn-fueled summer blockbusters, it's often unfortunately an all-too-real experience afflicting civilization. Based on a true story, the film The Impossible shows us the true destructive power of a wall of ocean water, devastating a coastal city. On the other hand, far-fetched science fiction seat fillers such as The Day After Tomorrow give us superstorms and other incredulous fact-lacking scenarios that entertain but certainly aren't a cause for real concern. Have you ever survived a natural disaster? Let us know in the comments below. Number 8. Non-Nuclear War. Only the dead have seen the end of war. A grave warning from one of the greatest philosophers, Plato. What is war? War is the collision of ideas, beliefs, and differences. An aggressive need to violently defend or extend one's stance and attack that which is different or unknown. Wars happen all the time, not always on the grand scale of armies marching into battles, but often in small communities over the difference of an opinion. However, we are here to talk about world-ending events, and that means all-out total military destruction. In history, we've had 2 wars large enough to bring the world to its knees, creating some of the most fearsome weapons imaginable, capable of wiping out millions at the push of a button. But even without devastating nuclear weapons, the threat of soldiers and armored vehicles rolling down city blocks and murdering citizens exists today. Perhaps not in America so far, but in various cities in the Ukraine and Syria or Arabic nations like Iraq and Afghanistan. It is a very real threat to their civilian populace. While there have been imaginative dystopian films such as The Purge, showing a future where the government sanctions murder and genocide, this is a relatively untapped scenario in apocalyptic storylines. In the current political climate, doomsday preppers and conspiracy theorists will have you believe a war is coming. But what does this say about us? About humanity as a whole, that we can't fathom a peaceful resolution. How many of you out there believe that human eradication is inevitable? Number 9. Mother Nature. Science will come up with some reason to put it in the books, but in the end it will just be a theory and we will fail to acknowledge that there are forces at work beyond our understanding. Another category very rarely explored in the post-apocalyptic genre is that in which Mother Nature takes steps to reclaim the planet, restoring the balance of the Earth by whatever means possible. Comic books have addressed the idea of an avatar of Mother Nature exacting its vengeance upon humanity through characters like Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy. The idea behind these characters is that the green, which represents the realm of life, is being painted black by pollution, deforestation, and the widespread extinction of flora and fauna. In the happening, plants themselves begin to emit a neurotoxin that makes humans off themselves. The idea of Mother Nature weeding out humankind as if it were a disease lends itself to a philosophical discussion on whether or not plant life is sentient. If so, do plants deserve the same rights as human beings? Are their greatest threats vegans themselves? Kinda makes you want to talk kindly to your houseplants and improve your green thumb, huh? Number 10. Supernatural. I fear not the dark itself, but what may lurk within it. From spectral forces wreaking havoc, to gods seeking our destruction, to Lovecraftian cosmic horrors, and biblical demons possessing innocent souls, the supernatural is one of the most vibrant genres within the genres of horror, science fiction, and fantasy. When it comes to extinction level events, there are quite a few notable entries involving the supernatural. Let's take gods for example. Many cultures believe in mythical deities that were designed purely for destruction. This isn't to be confused with another entry on this list, Rapture. These are gods with motives purely to destroy all life. Iterations of these gods exist beyond historical myth and have been brought to life in films like Clash of the Titans, The Immortals, and Cabin in the Woods. Their sole purpose is delighting in the suffering and death of humanity. They've even appeared in comic books like Wonder Woman, Thor, and Dragon Ball Super. Then there's cosmic horrors, like the creature Pennywise from Stephen King's It, or Cthulhu, an ancient being first explored in the Mountains of Madness. Entities so powerful they defy human understanding. And then, last but not least, the realm of spirits. Ghosts, disgruntled apparitions desperately trying to regain life. Some born from curses, others conjured through magic. Ghosts are a huge pop culture phenomenon. There are endless entries in entertainment media concerning specters, many claiming to be based on real events. The fascination with phantasms primarily exists through human ideology of what comes after death. However, as much as they would like you to believe, there has yet to be concrete proof of an afterlife. When it comes to supernatural apocalyptic fiction, though, films like Ghostbusters and Pulse come to mind. In these films, there are legions of uncorporeal monstrosities invading the realm of the living. Tell me, dear viewer, how many of you out there have had your own supernatural experience? Number 11, Pandemic. Often a predecessor to the zombie genre, infectious diseases can be a very real and terrifying threat, as we have now lived through our very own pandemic since the end of 2019. Films such as Outbreak and Contagion detail the very nature of a deadly disease thriving and spreading itself through society. Government quarantines, overrun hospitals, and high death totals are often the resulting aftermath. A few films, however, like The Quiet Earth, show humanity nearly wiped out, and the few sole immune survivors struggling to help keep their sanity and survive in desolate metropolitan ruins. Another interesting take on this scenario is Children of Men, where a disease spreads through the world, which makes women infertile. The pressure of knowing that no generations will follow causes society to collapse in violent outbursts and sexual proclivity. In truth, there are measures in place to help prevent pandemics, but there are many unknowns in the world of microbiology, and miracle cures like those in Star Trek are yet to surface. The real detriment is the amount of misinformation spreading through media outlets that result in panic and conspiracies, often prolonging the pandemic that could otherwise be contained. If you have lost or know someone who has lost a loved one to the current viral crisis, our thoughts and our hearts go out to you. To all listening, please wear a mask, distance yourselves, and be safe. Number 12, time travel. The past is obdurate. There are many films that deal with the consequences of time travel. The Time Traveler's Wife, The Time Machine, About Time, and even Timeline. But none are as prophetically apocalyptic as The Terminator. Another scenario we could have added to the list is an AI robopocalypse. However, to us, the idea of time travel being a world-ending event is far more unique. Usually when someone goes to the past and changes something, either it creates an alternate reality, such as what is presented in the MCU film Endgame, or creates a ripple effect like the film The Butterfly Effect. Both scenarios create a paradox. which cannot logically really exist within our definition of physics and quantum mechanics. Taking another look at the Terminator franchise, it is truly one of the few stories that result in apocalyptic events unfolding. This, too, isn't free from becoming a paradox, but it is an interesting notion to know that someone from the future could go back in time and be responsible for that future happening as if it had always happened in the first place. An interesting genre to explore, it is rarely seen on a global scale. We only see small glimpses of personal lives being changed, even though reason would say that anything changed in the past would create a cataclysmic fallout to the future. If you could travel back in time with zero negative consequences, would you? That was quite a rough ride. I'm just about ready to go buy some rations and find a bunker. From everything to monsters and zombies, to real-world possibilities of natural disasters and pandemics, the apocalyptic genre is thick with tales to feed almost all tastes. There are many themes woven throughout: hope and hopelessness, love and hate, survival and extinction, good and evil. What are some of your favorite films, books, or other forms of apocalyptic entertainment media? My personal favorite in this genre is Signs, for the realism depicted in the scene where Joaquin Phoenix is watching the news coverage of a sighting of the aliens. He's scolding the children at the bottom of the TV screen to move out of the way as if they could hear him through it. It always makes me laugh. Speaking of, honorable mention goes to Shaun of the Dead. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you also detonate that bell icon to stay up to date with the latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter @StudiosFat or chat with us on Discord. Link provided in the description below. If you're feeling generous, please visit our Patreon, where as little as $1 a month, you can help us build our own apocalypse survival shelter. Thank you all for checking us out. I've been Jackie K, and remember, duck and cover.